Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Awaken to Your Soulpath. I am your host, Barbara, and today I am joined by the wonderful Rionach Aiken. I'm hoping to pronounce it correctly. If not, then correct me if you want. And today we are going to talk about soulful visibility for the soulpreneur. And it's been a topic that I've been really looking forward to because in my orbit, everybody is a soulpreneur and not everybody is visible enough, or a lot of people are struggling with visibility. So I'm hoping that our talk today can shed some light onto why that is and what you can do to fix it. So thank you for being on the show today, Rionach, and it's a pleasure having you here today.
Oh, it's beautiful to be with you. Yes, Rionach is perfectly correct for my name, so well done. It's not an easy one, it's an Irish name.
Exactly.
To pronounce. And I love the term soulpreneurs. You know, I know like soulful business owners is totally my bag as well. And there's so many people who are driven to explore that path, even though we don't always know what it's going to look like. It's a really journey into the unknown. And yeah.
Definitely. I think most of us don't really know what it looks like. And I think for me, the biggest shift in that was being okay with that. For some reason, I always thought, oh, I need to be clear on what it's going to look like, because I think that's because we are being taught that we need to have a vision. We need to have a goal, and then we can work towards it. So we feel like we need to know very clearly what our vision or our goal is going to be so that we can work towards it. And it was giving me a lot of stress because I still don't quite know what my purpose really is. I know it's helping people, but that's very broad. And in what way or with what, it keeps shifting, it keeps transforming, it keeps changing. And I've learned to just let that be the way it is and to not have to define it or name it or constrict it in any way, and just be okay with, well, I don't know, but it's going to be fun.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. It's going to be fun. There was, one of the things, like I call myself, among many things, a poetry alchemist. And so I work with poetry to, to support myself and to support others on the journey of visibility. And there was one poem that I came across, over 10 years ago, I think back in 2012, called For a New Beginning. And part of it was saying, though your destination is not yet clear, you can trust the promise of this opening. Unfurl yourself into the grace of beginning that is at one with your life's desire. So that's just, one section of that poem. And for me, I was like, oh, but I want to know the destination. Tell me where I'm going and then I'll go. And the soulful path is like, it doesn't work like that. Exactly. That's the, conventional path is like, you have your 5-year plan and you know where you're going. And if you want to build a house, you want to plan like that, that's helpful for certain things, that's helpful. But for the soulful path is like, we really have to trust, because we are literally creating it as we go, together. Yes. And in ourselves. So, yes.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful poem. And when you were reading it or saying it, it resonated deeply with me. And that's indeed the biggest shift, because this country is really about, and I think more countries than just this country, but this country is really about, what do you want to be when you grow up? And when you know what you want to be when you grow up, then you know what studies you need to do, and then you know what type of business you want to start or what job you're going to get, and then you have something that you're working towards. Yeah. But that requires you knowing what it is that you're working towards. And I've never known. And I was always made to feel that that was a bad thing.
Yeah.
And they kept pushing about what's it look like or what's it going to be. And I know a lot of the people in my groups are struggling with this, because I have the tribe of Soulpreneurs on Facebook and the tribe of Soulpreneurs on LinkedIn. Yes. So I'm really in contact with a lot of soul-led entrepreneurs, which is a soulpreneur. And most of them are struggling with, but how am I going to call it, or what's it going to be, or how am I going to define it? But the very masculine way of defining a goal and then working towards it, I find that that's not working for the soulful entrepreneur. For us, it's more finding that alignment with source, and then trusting in the connection, and then just allowing things to unfold naturally the way they're supposed to, from a place of joyful curiosity, if that makes sense.
I love joyful curiosity. Yes, that makes total sense. And I'll just share the piece of the poem I shared was from a poem called For a New Beginning by John O'Donoghue, who's an Irish poet. So anyone who's interested in looking it up, John O'Donoghue, For a New Beginning. But yes, and one of the things that I teach my students is that if we come back to the wisdom of nature, if you think of like an acorn that's growing into an oak tree, and the acorn, all it's doing is kind of going, okay, next step is I'm going to put down some roots. I'm going to, break through the shell. I'm going to put down some roots, and I'm going to put up a shoot. Then I grow another leaf and another leaf and another leaf. And it's energy, it's life force. It's just going into the next step and the next step and the next step. It's not kind of going, oh, I wonder if I'll be a beautiful oak tree when, I get there. It's, nature doesn't work like that. And it's to do with, what's in season for you now, where is the energy wanting you to focus on? And sometimes that doesn't look the way we think it will, because actually our energy is wanting to grow roots. The symbol behind me, it's like our energy is like, oh, I need to have deeper foundations, and maybe even have a period of being in the unknown for a while to put down roots. And then from there, I can blossom strongly in a way that's really authentic for me.
Yes, exactly. And that's also why I think grounding is really important for us. We have the saying, so above as below, or as below so above, depending on your order. But it basically means being grounded in the earth with your roots, which is a very important thing for highly sensitive people. It's one of the main things I teach soulpreneurs, highly sensitive people, empath people, because they're often too emotional, and that a big part of that has to do with not being rooted enough. But it's not just being rooted in the earth, it's also being connected, rooted in a sense, with the energy above you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, it's not, for me, it's not just about being too emotional, but when it's like when we can't hold our emotions. So one of the things that, I teach people, I help people clear their visibility blocks, but I also help them do what I say, cultivate your visibility superpowers. That's cultivate the beingness, the energy in you that can hold space for this journey, because it's rocky. It's not easy. And part of that is having energetic roots, as well as grounding roots that are deep enough and wide enough to hold the big emotions when they come. So that there's part of me is like, okay, here's emotions that are coming, because this is this is a real journey. But when I'm rooted into a part of me, and that's also through the earth can hold it all.
Yes.
The earth and the ocean, they are like, yeah, we can hold it all, no problem. And if we can access that deeper wisdom, then we're not just a wave on the sea. We're the wave and we're the ocean, the deep part that's not affected by it. So it's that grounding that can hold space for, the big emotions without being blown over by them.
Exactly.
So much.
And it also kind of works like, a lightning rod, I would say. And so the excess of emotions can drain away through the roots into the earth, where it can be transmuted into new energy, which you can also then suck up into yourself again via the same roots. So it's like an ongoing transmutation process, right?
I love that. And that's a kind of a meditation I will do often at the beginning of any session, group or individual session that I would lead. I will help people to put their energetic roots down, release any energies that no longer serve you, and then bring up the nourishing and also the creative energies from the earth that you need to, to take your next step or get your next piece of wisdom. So yeah, I'm totally with you on that.
Exactly. Yes, I love it. So our theme today is visibility for the soulful entrepreneur. That's a very broad topic, right? But maybe it's a good idea to start with maybe a definition if we can, and then maybe move into what are some of the visibility struggles soulpreneurs are facing.
Yeah. So beautiful. So for me, soulful visibility is all about connection, so connection to yourself, connection to source, or, the greater wisdom, the earth, that holds us. And then from there, connection to others. So it's all about connection, not just about, being seen or getting results or being transactional. I think, the non-soulful visibility, but transactional. I'll give you this and you give me that. And it's not really deeply rooted in connection.
No.
And then, there are 3 elements to, bringing that about, that I defined and work with. One of them is clearing the visibility blocks. And the visibility blocks are, the personal, what's happened to us in this lifetime, the voices we heard and the beliefs that we took on as a child. It's also the collective. What are the collective messages around, keep your head down, or, you've got to work hard, you've got to prove yourself. And there's also then all of the collective identities around, women and people of color, and, how wealthy or educated you are. So many messages around that. And then the next layer, so this is the personal, the collective, the next kind of layer, and I see these as like circles inside each other, is the ancestral. So all of the collective stuff is rooted in our ancestors and what they've been struggling with. And we are evolving beyond what they were capable of, just as they evolved beyond the people that came before them. But that can be tricky. That can be like, oh, here is this really stuck pattern. And it's going beyond the individual way of thinking to kind of go, oh, that's not just me. That's in the collective and it's deep in my ancestral roots. So if mindset isn't always going to get us there.
No, because
thinking better thoughts won't get us there. So.
No, what a lot of people are not realizing is that these ancestral things, they are rooted in our DNA.
Yes.
They're literally inherited from our parents, from our grandparents, and the whole female line, but both on our mother's side as well as on our dad's side. And we are like the collection bucket at the end of everything. Yeah. And it's in your DNA. And I'm a big fan of Bruce Lipton, who talks a lot about epigenetics, the science of how our thoughts control our cells on a cellular level, but also how we can access our DNA and transmute all of these things. And a lot of this is also being spoken about in the gene keys. A lot of keys are specifically about the collective DNA that's stored within us. So if you are running into issues with your business and you've tried everything and you're doing the positive affirmations and you've done maybe Bob Proctor's work, or you worked on your mindset, and you're still struggling, then the chances are really high that it's a collective ancestral baggage that's preventing you from really shining your light.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And that's, I work with people a lot on clearing, energetically clearing the collective and ancestral baggage. And part of me is just how my energy works. I can kind of feel it in somebody's system. I might kind of say, okay, that this is your issue, it's coming up. Where do you feel that in the body? What's underneath that? And I can kind of feel. I remember one client kind of saying, oh, getting support is my issue. I do everything myself and I can't grow my reach, unless I get in more support. And she kind of connected in with something from her childhood. And I just said, I think there's something underneath that. And I just said, how was this for your mom? And what unfolded was that her mother and her grandmother had both really, really struggled with like chronic, lack of support. And it was deep. And when we worked on that level, it was magical what shifted. So, that is absolutely, true. And those energetic roots are there. And we can be, like, oh, this other stuff isn't working. What's wrong with me? But it's actually, this is why I love the shadow work, because our souls want us to clear that baggage. And
Yes.
so this stuff comes up in the way because our soul is kind of going, this actually, your job isn't just to create a successful business. Your job is to clear up the human mess that you've inherited, and take it to the next level. So what's in the way is the way. And I love to offer that perspective, because people think, oh, there's something wrong with me, it's my stuff.
Yes.
It's like, no, as a soul, you came here to clear this stuff up. That's what you came for. There
Yeah,
isn't
but it's
anything wrong.
also what a lot of people are teaching, that it's your beliefs, it's your mindset, and a big part of the work that I do is working with beliefs and mindset if they
Yeah.
are in the way. But another big part is indeed the energy work, because it's not always just that. And for some people, myself being one of them, it was on so many different levels. It was a lot of karmic baggage. In my astrology, for the people that are familiar with that, I have a yacht, which basically means that I have the finger of God, that I have been the one appointed to clear the karmic baggage of all my ancestral lines on both sides.
Wow.
So that's a big task, and that's required me to go through a lot of trial and error and trial and error. And there were times where I felt almost, or maybe completely desperate even, where I thought, but I've done family constellations, I've done mindset work, I've done theta healing, I've done the Akashic soul readings, I've done so much, an emotion code, I've done so much work on myself, on healing, on ancestral things, and it kept coming back. And it wasn't for me until I reached indeed the gene keys and started to understand how this is happening, why this is happening, a combination with neuroscience and epigenetics, that I finally started to understand, oh, this is beyond me. It's a baggage I've gotten. If you're happy with it, that's the second thing, but that you've basically gotten in your DNA, that's yours, or in this case mine, to transmute and transfigure.
Oh, wow. Beautiful. There's so much wisdom in what you've just shared there, Barbara. And I love that. And what the other thing I see about this, and it's totally there in everything that you've just said, that this journey, this healing journey, has created such incredible expertise and mastery in you, that you've learned all of these things, and that you've not just, learned them with your head, you have embodied them because you've had to. That's
Yes.
what I mean by what's in the way is the way. And I would love to, because this is a perspective that I see that so many soulpreneurs kind of think, this is my stuff, there's something wrong with me.
Yes.
And I want to
for a long time
turn that on its head and saying, this is you becoming a master of transformation. And to that end, if you're open to it, I'd love to share a poem that I wrote about this, that
Yes,
really
definitely
speaks to this. So for anyone who's resonating with this as well, I invite you to receive this poem. It's for space holders, and it's called Holding Space. And before I start, when I speak a poem, I really invite you to listen to it as if it were music, to really feel the energy vibration and where it touches.
Maybe even close your eyes so that you can really let it enter.
Yeah, beautiful. So this is Holding Space. I see you, soulful one. I'm just holding space, you say, as if you're not really doing anything. I see you touching the shame, the pain, the fear, digging the foundations of your loving presence deeper and wider. I see you willing to hold the world in your hands, not looking away from the darkness, not pretending to understand. I see you stretching beyond easy answers, the mind shutting rights and wrongs. I see you stumbling on shaky legs after uprooting the old ways, fumbling through the unknown to find a truer home. I see you, transformation leader. I see your soul surfacing, sharing its tender wisdom, in the space you've washed clear with your own tears. I see your devotion to your own unfolding, the years of practice, so you could just hold space as a ballerina just dances, as a soprano just sings, as a maestro just plays. I see you embracing it all so you can just hold space for love.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So what touches you there?
It feels like it speaks to my soul. Yes.
And this
So I hope that it also spoke to the soul of you out there listening
Yes.
or watching our talk today, and sit with it.
Yeah.
Really let it come in. That's why I'm slowly speaking, to allow more time for you to soak it up.
Yeah, soak it up. Beautiful. Yes, and it's on my website, there's a poem section. It's in there if anyone wants to find it, because sometimes really living with this for a while is great. And one of the reasons I felt called to write this is because visibility is about seeing ourselves first.
Yes.
You know, we want others to see us, but if we can't see ourselves clearly, and we need other people to see ourselves clearly. We need to kind of go, oh, you know, wow, I can see myself so much more clearly now because, you know, of this new perspective, or because somebody else has seen me in a way that I didn't see myself. And that is part of the path of really learning to see ourselves clearly, because we live in a world where a lot of what we do as soulpreneurs it's not in the norm. It's not kind of what gets the praise and the recognition, and we kind of go, oh, I have all of the stuff, but I'm fixing it and I'm kind of ashamed of that I still have so much stuff, rather than kind of going, I am actually becoming an incredible master of my craft by doing that inner work. And it actually gives us so much integrity, because of the other thing that comes up, you know, that one of the, you're talking about, asking me about visibility blocks, like, who am I to do this? Who am I to offer this work when I am still struggling with it?
Yes.
And the thing, you know, that I see and say to people is there's so much integrity in the fact that I know this path really well because I'm engaging with it every day. You know, I'm not just training people to run marathons or whatever. I'm running the marathon, so I get it. And this is what happened to me last week, so it's fresh and I get it. And, you know, I'm in this transformation, and I've experienced that so many times myself, but I'm deep in my own transformation and feeling like, oh, I have to show up for this call and, you know, put on my facilitator head on, and then noticing that fresh transformation that I've come through, that just melts them, that fresh energy, you know, it's exactly what they needed. And to the extent I'm not even sure if that was my stuff anymore. That was just what was needed.
Exactly.
Is it mine? Is it theirs? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's a shift.
No, exactly. And that is a very important part. So that's basically what I do with people. I help them to see themselves clearly, maybe for the first time in a long time, or maybe for the first time ever, to really discover their own user manual and really know everything about themselves, so that they can love themselves and be proud of themselves. And from that strong foundation, then step into the role that they're here to play, and maybe get clarity on that role along the way. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs indeed struggling with, yeah, but I'm not there yet. How can I teach when I'm not there yet? And the best answer to that question is, you can teach everything that you've already gone through. You don't need to be there yet because you don't know where there is or how long it's going to take. But what you can do is guide people through the parts that you've already gone through, because for them, you're already there at that point. And it happened in my business where I was feeling like I wasn't anything but an expert. And then people would tell me, oh, but you're such an expert in this area, and I really look up to you, and you have everything that I want. And I was like, really? The first time when they told me that, I was really, because it doesn't feel that way, or it didn't feel that way in that moment. So that was really a welcome, eye-opening statement for people that are not where I am at this level, that really look up to me and see me as a role model or as an authority in my area, even though you don't always feel that way. But to people that are not there yet, you are that expert. And that's why I believe everybody that's serious about the things that they want in life has someone they can either look up to or learn from, or are being coached or guided by. I coach and guide a lot of people, but I also have people who coach and guide me on my job, and they have people that coach and guide them. So there will always be someone who's further along a path, or the path, if you will, than you are. But it doesn't mean that you are not perfectly capable of guiding people who are not where you are right now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely true. And there's an integrity to that as well, to kind of go, if somebody comes along and you kind of feel, okay, that's not my thing, to kind of, to say, I'll find somebody else, who is, but also, I feel like that some of those stories are influenced by, a lot of us have got this I'm not enough belief.
Yes.
And it's so big in the collective as well. And I think, I'm really seeing more and more that some of that comes from that system of hierarchies that, that we're embedded into in our culture and in our worldview, so that we're always kind of looking up the ladder and kind of thinking, oh, I need to get higher and higher up the ladder. It's a really deep, old system. And we forget to, look down at where we've come from.
Yes.
But also to kind of go, what would it be like if we dismantled the ladder? And that's kind of, we can't even imagine what that would be like at this stage. But I'm really seeing that that's more and more where we're going. And it's often why our soul can't tell us where we're going, because our mind just couldn't get it.
No.
It's like, you would not understand if I told you. You'd be like, it doesn't give
time and space is also really flexible. If we look at the teachings of Eckhart Tolle, for instance, he says most people are either stuck in the past thinking about, I should have done this, or I should have done that, or what if I had not done this, or what if I had chosen that? Would that have then gotten me what I want? But it has no sense. It makes no sense to be stuck in the past, because you cannot change it. He says it's set in stone, it's already happened, so you're wasting a lot of time and energy thinking about the what ifs. Well, it doesn't change anything. And so that's a big part of people. But another part is people that are worried about the future. What if I choose wrong? What if I say no and this turns out to be the thing that I really needed to have said yes to? Or what if I move? Or what if I this? What if I that? What if I... And what he says is, the future is so flexible that it only has a 1% chance of actually happening. The things that you worry about, the things that you are thinking about, the things that you are being indecisive about, your fears, them coming true, your fears, your worries, it's less than 1% because of this huge flexibility. So it also does not make any sense to worry so much about the future, because it's so flexible.
Yeah, I love that. There's so much wisdom in that as well. Because and it's how our minds work. But often I find, when I go into, support people to go into the visibility blocks, that the mind thoughts because especially if you if it's hard for you to get rid of those worries, if that's not an easy thing to do, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. And so when it isn't, I often find that that's a symptom of a deeper root cause. And so then it can be like, okay, let's actually walk into those shadows that are underneath that and get down to it. Because you know, for some people saying don't worry just doesn't do anything, it just doesn't go anywhere. You know, don't be afraid, it'll be okay. And you know, really people are feeling, if I do, you know, a Facebook Live, if I show up invisible, my body believes I'm going to die.
Yes.
You know, it really does. If I show up as a soulpreneur, and especially people who are transitioning from more, who are like, in my corporate career, I had no problem standing on stage and giving presentations. That was fine when I was an engineer. Now that I'm a soulpreneur and I'm, you know, giving cosmic angel, you know, meditations, I'm really frightened that my system is saying no. And one of the things, especially for a lot of European women or people with European heritage, is the witch wound that comes up again and again and again, this persecution. And it wasn't just people who are called witches, people who were the community healers, the doctors of the day in Northern Europe. The women were the medicine people. But there are other, you know, soulful wisdom keepers and healers, whether it's from indigenous traditions around the world, who were brutally suppressed, silenced, you know, tortured, murdered, you know, brutally for hundreds of years. So what I found again and again, that, you know, somebody might come to me and, you know, that I don't want to do a Facebook Live because, you know, I'm afraid of what my corporate colleagues would think or what my religious family would think. And when, you know, what comes up then is like, oh, I saw this memory of myself being burned at the stake or betrayed by my community, or, you know, hunted and drowned. When we clear that, you know, we're working with one client, it's like we cleared that. Then the next week it's like, oh, hey, getting on with your Facebook Live. She's like, oh, fine. So I think I'll go deeper next time. It was a little bit, you know, safe. And it really helps. So I'm saying this also to people, is like, if that's still coming, it's often because there are deeper roots there. There's not something wrong with you. It might be, you know, as you've already said, it's not just that you might need to do more mindset work. It's actually, there are deeper roots that want to be cleared out from our DNA, from our collective consciousness, because then that ripples out into the collective and we all feel freer to come out with our soul's work.
If you're watching or listening to this and you want to know more about the witch wound, I've done interviews with people about the witch wound and also about different type of wounding, like the mother wound. So check that out on my channel. If you're already there, then it would be awesome if you subscribe to the channel so that you will never miss another episode again. And if you are loving our talk, it would be awesome if you would show that by liking this episode, maybe leaving a comment, a question, a supporting message, and sharing it with the people that you know on social media, because you never know who you know that might need to hear this talk today, that might be struggling and probably not saying anything about it with things that are related to what we are talking about today. Because in our society, it has been very normal, in air quotes, for a long time to prosecute or make fun of people that are perceived as different. It has been going on for a long time and it's still happening. I've always been bullied at school, but look at women, slaves, people of color, queer people, the whole LGBT community. They're still facing a lot of judgment, a lot of making fun of, a lot of not being allowed to really be who they are and express themselves in the way that comes natural to them, because you're different. And even the whole spiritual thing, right? When I first started with it, I come from a very rational family. And if you work hard, then you're successful. If you're not successful, you need to work harder and you need to know what career you want, and then just really diligent work really hard to get there. And I had to discover that that's not true. But that's what I've been told over and over and over again. So I started doubting myself because I was bullied. I started doubting myself because it didn't work for me that way. I started doubting myself because when I was myself, I got judged for it. I got even convicted for it. People thought that they knew me or that they could pass judgment over me, reject me, all of these things. And I think a lot of the people that are watching and listening here have similar experiences. So it's something that is, I find, wrong on a societal level.
Yeah.
And it's making people feel that they cannot show who they are or go looking for who they are because they feel like they need to be more like everybody else in order to finally be seen or to be successful. And then to only get disillusioned when they've tried really hard to be like everybody else and to work on themselves, and it's still not working.
Yeah. Oh, I feel that. And I feel that just the pain and the tenderness that you're naming. And these are the wounds of not being seen.
Yes.
So this is such deep and tender work to learn to see ourselves and to see, you know, the kind of the rightness of our, you know, our vulnerable, true, tender souls and hearts in the face of, you know, a hostile world and these harsh voices telling us that we're wrong. And it takes something. It takes something to keep trusting that. It takes something to really keep following your path when other people don't see it. And, you know, and there are so many of us. So all the soulpreneurs want to make a difference in the world.
Yes, they want to help people. They want to make a difference.
And we cannot make a difference if we're not willing to be different.
Yeah, I love how you're saying that. That's exactly it. We are different and it's time we owned it. And people often ask me, because I'm a transformation guide and a soul igniter, what is your biggest transformation? And I would say it's I used to think I was weird and strange and that there was something wrong with me and that I needed to fix it. Now I think I'm weird and I'm strange and I'm loving it. Bring it on.
Exactly. And you're fixing the world. You're not fixing yourself, but you know, the two are absolutely connected. Yeah, that's it. And I think the pull to belong is so strong, you know, so that's why we fit in. That's a really natural you know, need. We have a need to belong.
We feel there's safety in numbers. When we are part of a big group, then that means safety. And being by yourself, especially in the caveman times, it was not safe to be a human by yourself with all these predator animals and stuff on the lookout, or predator humans. Well, let's face it, there were also humans killing humans. So it was not safe to be by yourself, and there was safety in numbers, and it was great to be part of a group. And I'm not saying it's now not great to be part of a group, but there is no longer this danger, and you can be your individual, unique, wonderful self, and feel good about it. And especially when you feel you have this deep calling to contribute to the world, to make a difference, to help people or to facilitate change, then that starts with embracing everything that you are and loving everything that you are in order to be that change.
And yes, absolutely. And the other thing I would add to that as well is that to find the groups of belonging that are right for you now. You know, for example, you know, like you have a Facebook group, you know, I've got one too. There are many good communities out there, because it's in those new communities that are popping up. So whatever it is you're drawn to and your need, that's where it's almost like it's inside these new communities that we can see ourselves more clearly, like conversations like this, in what they spark, and finding new ways of belonging, because, you know, we can't just do it all on our own. You know, we need each other, and these, you know, and we're living in such beautiful times where there are so many leaders who are creating communities and groups and spaces where we can come and see and be seen and see ourselves. And, love each other and tell each other like how awesome we are, in ways that feel really true. So that's also how we learn to see ourselves and love ourselves.
Definitely.
Together.
And I love that you're sharing that, because it's so true, but it also inspired me to remember something else I want to share, because a lot of people that I had the honor of guiding were afraid of ending up completely alone when they stepped into who they really are.
Yeah.
They were afraid of losing everybody that mattered, losing all of their friends, and ending up alone. And that's usually the biggest fear, the fear of complete rejection and the fear of utter disbandment, of utter aloneness. And while you might and probably will lose people when you become yourself, you will also start to resonate and attract people that are similar to who you are. So you will make new friends. And joining a community, I have, like I said, Facebook group, LinkedIn group. I also have a virtual mastermind cafe called Solutions, where there are a lot of like-minded soulpreneurs in. That is a way of surrounding yourself with people who are like you, who get it, and who will love and support you in your journey of becoming yourself. Because more often than not, we cannot share this process with the people who do not get it. And we do feel a need to share, to, have people tell you, you're not crazy and you're on the right track. While the people around us, I saw that with my family mostly, but also with friends, they had good intentions, I'm sure of it, but they kept telling me things that were not in line with me becoming who I really was. And they couldn't grasp what was changing in me and how it was changing in me. And because they couldn't grasp it, because I didn't see it that way, they couldn't support me in it. And that also caused struggle and strain within me and halted my growth from time to time. So by finding your tribe, your community, your people, like-minded people, you can share all of this with them. And then you don't have to burden the people around you with things that they don't have any capacity of understanding.
Absolutely.
And the people who truly love you for who you are, even when they don't understand what is happening, they will still be by your side supporting you, because they're seeing you becoming happier and enjoying life more and living your life in a way that it makes you happy, and they will support that. Exactly. Even though they might not understand everything about your transformation.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And they can support you in ways that, other people can't, and other people can support you in ways that they can't. And so it's just getting clear of having realistic expectations for what people can support you with. It's like, okay, I have a need for support. Who's going to be able to help me with this? And sometimes the family, when it comes to, moving house or helping out or the practical stuff, often family are like, yeah, 100% there. When it comes to, understanding, the up level that you're going through, and that this mess is part of the evolution, probably not. Somebody else will totally get that. And when we kind of, are more like, okay, I get clear on the expectations, and we're not kind of needing the people who've been in our lives longer to meet all of our needs, and realizing that they can't, and that's okay. That's how it should be. We're free to grow and evolve. And then what I notice happening is that new energy that we bring, often as pioneers and leaders, can flow back in to the family system in ways that, if the people are open to receive, or just even into the ancestral dynamics. I've noticed that. I've noticed shifts that happen because, and part of it is because I've, created a little bit of distance to go my own way, and then kind of bring that perspective in. Sometimes they're not open to it, sometimes they are, but I don't mind either way. I'm just like, I'm happy to connect on whatever level we can connect on, and let
Exactly.
go of my expectations. But in, you know, a lot of the work that I do around clearing visibility blocks is doing deep energy releases with people, because a lot of what entangles us into our blocks is, you know, the way we've energetically connected with somebody else, the messages we've received from them, you know, the needs and expectations that we've had from them, and it's all kind of entangled. And so it's like, oh, I can't do this, I'm afraid, because I've got, you know, these voices, these beliefs in my head. And when we can, you know, release that with love, release all of their projections, they didn't know any better, release all of our expectations, and, you know, really transmute that into love, and then set a new relationship based on, this is who I am now, so I'm energetically renegotiating how we connect. And then we can connect on a higher level or not. Sometimes there are relationships that fall apart, but mostly there's a more clarity and an up level, because our visibility wounds happen in relationship.
Yes.
And they are healed through doing relationship work. And then it's like, it's happened so many times that people are like, oh, I want to tell this story about my personal transformation, but it involves a family member, and I don't want to speak about them because it's still a bit edgy for me. And when we release that, you know, the rough edges of that, and then they actually say, oh, they were doing their best, they got this, you know, from their parents as well. This is much bigger than just, you know, me and my mom. You know, we have so much more compassion and forgiveness, as well as clarity of, you know, we're not doing it that way anymore. And then they can tell the story without being blamed, without being edgy. We're just kind of going, the past generations couldn't do this, and this is what we're doing. And it's beautiful. You know, it's really able to claim their own unique gifts without, you know, kind of pulling on somebody else to give them something that they're just never going to be able to give them.
No.
So
I love that
that's
you're sharing this. I've personally went through this. I have had a very tough childhood with a lot of things happening. And if I look at my parents, could they have done things differently? Probably. But were they able to do it? Probably not, because of the way that they've been raised and the knowledge that they had. So I have a deep I feel deeply that they tried to do their best with their knowledge and the things that were at their disposal at the time of their being. Did it turn out shitty for me? Yes. Did it damage me deeply? Yes. Do I have a lot of things to heal and to work out and to hold space for? Most definitely. But I don't feel that it has that it makes any sense to blame my parents for this, because I also know how they have been raised. And I know the problems and the struggles my grandparents have faced in all of my grandparents, and how their parents were. So we are the product of the things that have been handed down to us in combination with the things that we've been taught, and we can only try to do our best. And I honestly believe both of my parents tried to do their best within what was possible for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that. That's so true. And so you know, it is absolutely how it works. And the other, you know, when I was sharing earlier about the visibility blocks, I talked about the personal, the collective, and the ancestral. The one that I missed out on was the soul level. So that's the soul level is even, you know, bigger and outside of that as well. And, you know, I truly believe that on a soul level, you know, we choose our parents, we choose our ancestry. So as a soul, we're, you know, we're kind of, you know, outside of the human mess and wanting to come in to incarnate into this earth to be part of the cleanup team, and especially those of us that are, you know, leaders in the transformational world. We will often take on really strong challenges. We will take on situations that are tough because of the master that we have to become to overcome that. So it's like, oh, I'm going to take on all this, you know, really heavy stuff, because when I get through that, when I work through that, because I have to, you know, I want to clear my own pain, then I can really hold, you know, first of all, I'm clearing that out for my own ancestral lineage. Even if I never help another human being, I'm doing a huge collective service to the collective consciousness and, my family's ancestry, and they're part of the human story. And secondly, if we are a soulpreneur or a transformational leader, you're like, I get it. You got stuff to work, human stuff to work through. I get it. I've worked through it. I've developed that mastery. I found the things that worked, the things that didn't. I've got all of these tools. And so I think when we see it on a soul level, we kind of think, oh my God. And then I'm like, what an amazing person you are as a soul to have taken on all of that.
I hear what you're saying. I've heard this often. Part of me feels it, but another part of me has always struggled with this, because as a person, I did not deserve everything that was happening.
It's not about saying that you deserved it.
Exactly.
It's not about saying that. It's not about bypassing any of it. And I think, that's a really good point. You don't want to bypass any of it. But it is
a struggle I see often, because when you're going through the shit, and I've gone through a lot of shit, and I now know why that had to happen, but it feels very, very unfair. And because we are naturally inclined to find the cause of it in our own behavior or something that we did, you think, oh, but I don't deserve this. And that's true. You do not deserve this.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. And I think that fieriness to saying this is wrong, this shouldn't happen, is part of the passion that creates the change. So it's both. So it's not about bypassing it, and it's about saying, come on, people, we can do better than this.
Exactly, because I've now reached the point where I still truly believe I did not deserve this. I really didn't deserve it. But apparently I needed it to be able to grow into the position I now have in order to be able to help so many people in the way that I can help them.
Yeah. And I think, for me to see that was really tough. It was really unfair. And wow, the soul who would choose that is a mighty soul. So all of those levels are true at the same time. We're not bypassing any of it, because bypassing just does not work.
No.
And that, actually healthy anger at injustice is a fuel that we need. And there's too much judgment of that, I think, in spiritual communities, like, oh, we shouldn't be angry. It's okay to be sad, but we shouldn't be angry. It's like, no.
All the emotions are meant to be felt.
Yes. Yeah. And it's such a powerful fuel. I was facilitating, doing a 9-month group, and I was facilitating a session recently and getting in touch with their sacred rebel voice. And through, what is it that frustrates you? What is it that really, pisses you off? What is the change you would love to see in the world? And they were, writing that. And honestly, what came out was so beautiful. It's like they were just fired up to bring the change, fired up from their heart to create a better world for us. It's a really powerful fuel for change.
Yes, if you channel it in the right direction.
Exactly.
Yes, most definitely. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So this is what inspires us to want to do our work.
I've been really loving our talk, and I think we hit upon some really valuable points for a lot of people. So again, if you're watching, if you're listening and you're resonating it with this, please let us know in the comments. That will be awesome. But for right now, I can also imagine that they might want to find out more about you, Rionach, and find out where they can connect with you. So where can they find you?
Yeah, so on my website is my name, rionachaiken.com. I'm sure there'll be a link below, or if you see the spelling of my name, it's not an easy one, but rionachaiken.com.
No, I'll make sure all the links that we mentioned are included in the show notes.
Yeah.
So if you want to find them, go down, probably down, maybe side or up, but usually down, and find all the links. Yes.
Yeah. I'm on Instagram at Rionach Aiken. I have a YouTube channel also at Rionach Aiken. I'm on Facebook page, Rionach Aiken. And on Instagram and Facebook, there's, you know, Linktree with all the links to my website, and you can get a free download of the top visibility blocks for soulful business owners. And there's tons and tons of stuff on my YouTube channel and also on my blog and my website, where I, you know, facilitate, you know, talks, interviews, but also kind of trainings, and give people experiences like I did today with the poetry, with meditations. I love to shift energy when I'm showing up and doing things. So there's a lot of practices there. I also, you know, I offer coaching. I offer a 9-month program, the Soulful Visibility Mystery School, which is starting again in October, and other occasional retreats as well. So yeah, love to connect with anyone who is resonating with this.
Lovely. So like I said, I'll make sure that the link to find Rionach, all of the links will be in the show notes. My links are obviously also in the show notes. So if you feel resonating with Rionach or with me, we would both love to talk with you. So don't hesitate to reach out. You don't have to go through this alone. Yeah. So yeah, that was my last message about this part. Thank you so much for being here today, Rionach. It has been a delight talking with you. Thank you also, watcher, listener, viewer, for being here, for showing your support, for always supporting me and my channel. It's been a pleasure talking to you and with you, Rionach, today. And I look forward to talking with my next guest next week. Hopefully it will also be a very inspiring talk. And for in between, I wish you an amazing day and an amazing rest of your week.
Thank you, Barbara.